I'm not.
I moved it.
We only have Matt
Mhm.
do C,
He was on, there he is.
and then it's 5 o'clock, so. We're ready, Lindsay.
Well, this is gonna be a short meeting.
You said it about a dozen times.
Why don't we? If you don't mind, let's give it a couple of minutes and see if others show up. If not, we'll let you two speak and we'll go home.
Well, half hour reading, right?
Yeah, half hour each. But it has to be on topic.
3 minutes for you, and then 3 minutes for her, and then 3 more minutes. For you.
Let me get 3.
There's 3 people.
Oh, there. Okay. Okay.
Who wants to call them?
Yeah, let's go ahead and have the meeting.
Okay, was that, if we can start, pause the recording?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
recording.
it's already
Yep.
recorded. Oh, I have no idea. Okay, we're gonna call the meeting of the Community Engagement Standing Committee to order at 5:01 p.m. I am Councilmember Lorena Barrera.
I'm council member Nancy Pemberton.
Councilmember Rogers.
Councilmember Tom Rhodes.
Okay, thank you. The first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. So I believe you entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move.
Second. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain because I'm not actually on the committee.
And you should just explain your exercise.
Oh, I'm
It's in there,
ex officio.
I think. Is it in there?
So due to the bylaws in the, for the Community Advisory Council, the chair, whoever it is, has the ability to attend, any sort of meetings that are related to the CAC business as he or she or they wish. And I'm here today to help specifically with item number 2 on the agenda, which is the town hall listening session regarding the district attorney's report and decision not to prosecute the Sonoma County Sheriff Office Deputy Dietrich for the fatal shooting of David Peleas, hopefully Pelaez, sorry, Chavez. And I will go ahead and introduce the item. So we're here this evening to hear from you, the public, about your reactions to the fatal shooting of, and I'll just say the whole thing in Spanish, David Pelaez Chavez, and the district attorney's determination that criminal charges against the deputy who fatally shot Mr. Pelaez Chavez should not be brought. The Community Advisory Council was established by Measure P to increase visibility for the public into the delivery by the Sheriff Coroner of Policing and Corrections Services to provide community participation in the review and establishment of Sheriff Coroner policies, procedures, practices, training, and initiatives, and to engage the public to better understand the role of IOLERO and of the Sheriff Coroner. The Community Engagement Committee scheduled this meeting to carry out the Community Advisory Council's goal of increasing visibility for the public into the delivery of policing services and to provide community participation in the review and establishment of Sheriff Coroner policies, procedures, practices, training, and initiatives. The CAC's mission does not include review of the district attorney's decisions. We know, however, that her determination in this case impacts the work of the Sheriff's Department. It is our hope that hearing from you about the fatal shooting and about the decision not to press criminal charges will also have an impact on the work of the Sheriff's Department. This tragic shooting impacted not only Mr. Pelaez Chavez, his family, and his loved ones. It impacted the entire community, including the people working in the Sheriff's Office and the people attending this meeting. We hope that an airing of the impact on you and those you know will affect the conversation about how the people charged with community safety carry out their responsibilities. In the future, both IOLERO and the Sheriff's Office will release reports about their independent administrative investigations on this matter, including findings about whether this shooting was or was not consistent with the policy and training of the sheriff's office. A civil suit filed by the family of Mr. Pelaez Chavez is also pending against the county of Sonoma in this matter. The CAC may use the results of those administrative and civil matters to make recommendations to the sheriff's office. Tonight, those matters are not on the agenda, but will be in the future, so this is not the last time this item will be on our agenda. Now we'll ask the CAC's vice chairperson to read our commitment to civil engagement.
Good evening. All are encouraged to engage in respectful, non-disruptive communication that supports freedom of speech and values diversity of opinion. We, the members of the CAC, have adopted a list of norms referred to as our Design Team Alliance, which describes the way we want to show up and be in community while modeling collaborative behavior. We request that CAC members, staff, and the public follow the CAC's agreed upon norms, which are be tough on the topic, not on the people, respect all participants in the meeting, respect each other's perspective even when you disagree, respect each other's time, stay within the meeting's time and content parameters, practice active listening, listen with an open mind to all information, including dissenting points of view, speak to others as you would like to be spoken to, allow others to speak without comment or intrusive sounds, honor freedom of speech, and please call each other in. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to the start of this item. So basically, any member of the public, as we usually do, will have the opportunity to address the committee and bring up any points that you'd like to bring up regarding this item. And we have 6 people on Zoom, but we'll start with the individuals present in the room with us. So if anyone would like to speak on this item, we're gonna give you 3 minutes. And we'll start the timer once you're ready.
Okay.
Okay.
Jim Duffy, thanks for holding this listening session. I was not surprised by the district attorney's decision. I watched the press conference that DA Rodriguez held, and I was struck by her press conference language more than her written report. The press conference, she said, you know, I don't think I could have gotten a Sonoma County jury to convict on this, so I can't bring charges. And I have to agree with that. I mean, if you been following the sheriff's office and you look at the David Ward killer, if Sonoma County jury couldn't convict on the David Ward killer, they're not going to convict on Floyd Chavez. You know, that was, I mean, I hate to say more egregious, but it was a more egregious killing. And so that did not shock me, but I wanted to make public comment tonight because I want to flag for Iolero office, for the staff that are doing the investigation. That I hope that the report, when it comes out, if it doesn't recommend terminating the deputy, that it really explains for the public how the public should feel safe with the deputy who has killed 2 civilians in a relatively short career. How we should feel safe with that person still on the street with a gun, a badge, and the power of the state. Because it seems like this is, you know, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, I'm saying that being a police officer is a really hard job. And not everybody's cut out for it. And, you know, when you kill 2 people in, 5-6 years, maybe this isn't the right job. Thanks for taking my.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? No? Okay, we'll move on to Zoom. And if anyone on Zoom wishes to address this item, if you could please raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Okay, we have Josette. Go
Hi,
ahead.
Josette Brozeiker from Boys Hot Springs. I just tuned in tonight because I do really want to understand now that the DA has made the judgment they have, where things stand with the Iolero investigation and the law enforcement's investigation, and with the hope that something different will come out of this, because it seems to me that there just doesn't, no matter what they said, it doesn't make sense to me that someone who's basically unarmed died. I mean, Iraq. So I do want to understand from your group where Iolero is going and, what the possibilities are. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else on Zoom? Okay, we don't have any additional hands raised. I'll bring it back to the room. If anyone who just arrived wants to provide public comment.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Since there's still a lawsuit pending, offering agencies aren't allowed to investigate while a lawsuit is pending, there's a real hearing with it. Like this is on the kind of civil grand jury. Won't investigate anything if the lawsuit is pending, so. I'd like you to clarify, like, to what extent you're going to investigate while the lawsuit is pending. I guess that's a question for the draft. You have the authority to, interview people, or how is that not going to consider lawsuit?
Dawn.
Are you investigating?
Oh, Ms. Donovan. Don, I don't know if you're listening, and if you are, if you could address that question, otherwise we
Sure.
can. Go ahead.
Sure. There's not a lot I can say about that tonight because the Iolero work and the Internal Affairs Division of the Sheriff's Office work on that case are still pending. But both of those two offices have the ability to interview witnesses and gather evidence, and they're both charged with coming up with conclusions about whether, not whether a crime was committed necessarily, but whether the shooting in this case was consistent with or inconsistent with policy and training. So both of those two organizations will continue to gather evidence, including interviewing people, and then have reports that, in this case, will be publicly available in the future when they're done. That's about as much as I could add for tonight, and hope that's helpful.
Thank you. Any other questions?
We have a timeline for that.
Is there a timeline for that, John?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, we don't seem to have any other hands raised on Zoom or additional public comment for this item, so we will close this item out.
No, we're gonna.
Oh.
Robin. The committee has the opportunity.
Oh, okay, I'll turn it over to the committee to comment. Oh, sorry, we're using it like a regular business item.
Yeah, it's on the.
Okay,
Hold on, I think we have a public comment first.
I'm so sorry I'm late. Yes, I do have a public comment. I guess I just want us to not let this fall by the wayside. I think we're all in agreement that I think it's an egregious outrage. I think it needs to be researched more about why they chose not to bring charges. My group wrote a letter about this, the group I'm involved with, and sorry, I'm not very articulate. I was a little late, but I'm here to show up and have public comment that this matters to our community and we care a lot.
okay. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Nancy, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I want to say that I think that anytime there is a killing, particularly a killing by people who we pay to protect us, that it is a traumatic experience. And, you know, I certainly feel it. I have felt it since it happened in July of 2022. I feel it regularly when the DA's report came out. I was not surprised, but it was disturbing to me. I don't know, given the state of the law, whether that decision was incorrect. I'm not sure that it, you know, I can't say that it was an incorrect decision, but I have to say that when a sheriff's deputy pulls a gun and shoots somebody who has nothing more than a rock, it is very, very troubling to me. And I actually am disappointed that there's not more public response to this. Perhaps it has to do with the length of time, the poor weather, the time of year. But I am very troubled by it. It's why I serve on the CAC. And I would hope that going forward that the sheriffs would engage in better training, better policies and procedures, but particularly better training. It was shocking to me that there were 2 deputies out there and they couldn't do anything more than say single words in Spanish. Dealing with, I mean, we have such a large monolingual Spanish-speaking population, and for them to even not be trained in how to say some basic sentences that could have made a difference. I didn't see the attempts at I didn't see attempts at what I would consider de-escalation, and it was. I just have to say I'm really, really troubled by the whole thing, and that's why I wanted to have this meeting tonight. And I will say I'm also disappointed that we didn't do a better job of encouraging people to be here.
I feel like what happens to me is that there's a cumulative effect of kind of trauma. When, you know, there's Andy Lopez, I mean, there's just one, it seems like there's one after another, and whether or not it's the same officer perpetrating the, you know, the shooting, it's still part of the sheriff's office. And that just feels like there needs to be an accountability that I feel like is not being reported out at this point. And as Nancy said, whether this is, it was a lawful, you know, whether the decision was based on, you know, it being lawful or not, to me, the report itself, or the press conference, I guess, and the report certainly does not give a full picture of this situation. And there's just so many things left out of it. And so many things put in it that are irrelevant to the report. That's the other thing that I felt was like, why is this even in here? I mean, because anybody who reads the report is going to be biased by that information. And so I felt like that was, you know, really poorly done. And then a question I always have is why aren't they calling on mental health personnel to help in a situation like that? That was clearly a situation where a mental health person would have been an asset. And there's just so many details to the report that don't make any sense to me. So, no, I feel like as a member of the CAC, I agree with you that this should not be dropped and that we should continue to pursue it. And I feel like, from my understanding of my role as CAC, although I'm still new, I feel like there are definitely things that we can be looking at, and that when we get the administrative investigation that comes out of Iolero and out of the sheriff's office, that there will be enough material that we can use to dive deeper into this with the sheriff's office. And I feel very committed to doing that.
I agree with Jim that the idea they're not going to prosecute is pretty obvious at the beginning. Graham versus Connor, I think, is the one that said, what would a reasonable law enforcement officer do? So the poor schmucks on the jury, it's not, what would you do? Don't look back, don't look at today, at the time, and you've got to rely on these experts. And the defense will have one, and the prosecution will have one. And you've got to get 12 people to all agree that the defense expert's wrong, and that's just such a high burden. So what I hope we can go is the other thing you look at is policy and training. And I hope the CAC definitely gets into policy that now. And I think we need to support that and get very specific, this, and not this reasonable stuff that's all over there. Get specific that way, and I think we ought to bring some of the training officers into a CAC and talk to us about what they're training. And hopefully it's a two-way street, and then we can reply, but the community doesn't want to be trained that way. As we talked about Andy Lopez, do the same thing, trash the victim. They bring Lopez's parents in, how's he doing in school, all this irrelevant stuff, while the cop sleeps, has a night's rest, talks to attorneys for a couple of days. And you bring that up with the sheriff, and well, it's our constitutional right not to do so. All that stuff's probably going to continue. But I'm, as you know, I'm requesting the CAC take a strong look at this. And there is the language that's pretty strong as far as when information should be released. And by the time the DA said we're not going to file, everything should be out. So I don't know who's seen the Santa Rosa Police Department, everything they did, everything we looked at should be public. And the sheriff, a lot of it's public, but it's very hard to find. So again, I want the CAC to look into this and take some strong action to get it in front of the public. That we know the right answer. At least the public deserves that's going to happen.
I agree with all of those points, and I think that as members of the CAC and you know, as people in this community, that it's important that we do our part and look into kind of what the patterns are. And in my opinion, I do feel a review of policies and training is important, because the way I think of it sometimes is by, and I don't know how things are done now, but when you watch movies from maybe 20 or 30 years ago, you see police officers like running, chasing someone down. It seems like they do it for like miles. And nowadays it seems like there's like shortcuts, almost like we're not encouraging to arrest someone. We're just encouraging them to kind of end the situation no matter what it takes. And so the easy way out seems to just shoot someone instead of doing the right thing and chasing them down and keeping them alive so that you can follow the process. I mean, it's not a police officer or a deputy's decision to end somebody's life just because they committed a crime or something, or whatever the case may be. That's up to, you know, whatever systems in each state and things like that. So they should be protecting the public, but that doesn't mean killing people who they think are bad. And so we need to look at the policies that they're being trained on and how they're being trained. And I think that that's our job as this oversight group for the sheriff's office. And I think it's important that we really look into the final reports and decisions and recommendations that are going to be brought up when the investigations are concluded and everything is released, because yeah, that's part of what we need to do, and we need to prevent things like this from happening so often as they do.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I really appreciated the letter that Clean and the NAACP wrote. It really helped me just pinpoint some of the issues that I would not necessarily have known, you know, to think about, but it was very clear. It was, you know, spelled out really well, and I don't know how public it was made, but it certainly plays a role in helping to clarify for the public really what was involved in it. And, so I would highly recommend that that letter get distributed as widely as possible, if there's some way to do it.
It was sent to the press, they didn't cover it. So. You know,
There's a new
write the
executive.
PD.
But their executive editor, he says he cares about the
Yeah.
have-nots. I'm sorry, Susan, what did you say? There's a new executive editor at the PD, he says the most important thing is caring about the have-nots. Oh, well, so, you could put
You
it
know,
on that.
you can send it to the press, but if they don't choose to pick it up.
Can you send it at a time and,
I think at that point, you're harassing the
Oh.
border, probably
well,
burning
and
potential relationship.
and send it to the executive.
There are 2 or 3 people in this window that are very well at getting letters to the editors written. If they might get a letter to the editor written that somehow leads back to them.
I wouldn't know who that is.
Can I make a comment directly related to what Robin said about the information they give about the person who's killed, so prejudices? I don't know about what the DA says, but back very early on in Iolera, there was a recommendation to the sheriff's department to stop doing it, which was then ignored. But that might be something you can take up again. And very more again, but it's, you know, I think it's really important. Is to do that all the time. Just keep saying.
Any other comments? Yeah. That's what the hand was.
Okay, I think that item is, we're done with that item. Perhaps this would be, our next item is, this discussion of this committee's, goals, targeted audiences and strategies. And when we met the last time, we had talked about some of that. I'm not sure that I have those notes with me, unfortunately. But I think that we should revisit some of that, particularly in light of this. You know, I have to say that I don't feel like I did a good job of getting the information out to a larger community about this event. I know that there are some people who did an excellent job of sending it out to their people, you know, their lists. But I think that we in a community engagement committee ought to work on developing a broader list and getting people, you know, to get people out. I had contacted another CAC member who had suggested that he had suggested some Spanish speaking media coverage, and I wasn't able to track that down in a way that would allow us to send something out. We didn't have we had the agenda, but we didn't have a format that would be easily sent out or put on. It was also on Iolera's Facebook page. I don't know how many people actually look at the Facebook page or even know it exists. You might want to think about that, you know.
When did it go up on your Facebook?
You know, I don't know. I just saw it today.
It says 1 day ago. I was just looking. to
Yeah,
see it.
because I would have forwarded it, I was. trying
And I
to
only
promote
got
this,
2
like,
shares.
A week and a half ago.
Yeah.
But there was nothing to share. You know,
Right.
except a PDF, and that's not gonna get lines, you know, boomers are, you know, us old boomers are gonna open up a PDF.
Well,
All the younger generations forget about it.
yes,
They don't do that, they need an infographic for the flyer.
well, and I think that even older people need an infographic as well. We don't have a lot of time to sift through 3 or 4 pages of a PDF to figure out why it's being sent to us. So I think that I would like the community engagement committee to sort of work on some of that to get the word out a little bit. That would be one of my suggestions.
And I'm
Yes.
not on the committee, but. At
You are
my job,
excellent, yeah.
sometimes when I publish things like on Nextdoor, instead of saying. Or starting this with, among other items, this meeting will provide, like, people don't care about. Meetings or the agendas or the Brown Act or whatever, I would have said something like. Are you concerned about the recent report regarding the fatal shooting of, David Pelaez Chavez? And then like 3 question marks, or I do stuff like that to get people's attention. And then after that, I would say like, come to the community engagement meeting at 5 p.m. or something. And then they can look at the agenda if they want to, or find out about the process of the meeting when they get here, but we want to get people's attention. And then the image that was used on the Facebook post says CAC Community Engagement Meeting, which is great. I use these at my job for like announcing public hearings or something, but if it's about, we want to catch people's attention for something specific, I normally change the picture so it's catchy. Like if we're going to talk about short-term rentals, I use pictures that are related to that, even though it's still a meeting, but something that gets more attention than like a standard image. Yeah, it just looks like a logo. So that's it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Well, can I just wanted to, I feel like I'd like to reach out to the community more to find out ideas about who we could be talking to, where we could make, more contact. What are some listservs or whatever that we could be using? I feel like the community has resources that I don't have access to or don't know about. I might know about some, but not others. And so I'm wondering if those of you who are here feel like there are contributions that you could make, or people who could make contributions about, how the community engagement could be richer part of CAC. Jim?
The only 2 things I do is I send them to Killeneggy and ask him to put it in Peace Press weekly announcement thing, and he'll carry things in there. And he likes a nice graphic, that works. And I asked Susan to send it to her list, because she maintains a monster list.
And usually I create a graphic, and in this case, I didn't. I usually do something that has a.
But those 2 largely reach older white products.
Right, yes.
So that's very limiting, so.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
So I was at the Peace and Justice Center yesterday.
Susan, do you mind speaking up just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. I was at the Peace and Justice Center yesterday, and Rebel Fagan, who's president of the board, has a radio show. It's not necessarily connected with the center, but it's used to be on KWTF, and I think it's now on KPBF. So bilingual station. He told me that he had sent an email to Iolero about having someone from the CAC come and speak on his show, and he hadn't gotten a response. Wow.
We did that. Sorry.
But just so you know, I'm scheduled as part of Clean to speak next week on, we're gonna be on each show.
He did tell me that, I was told that Clean was gonna be speaking.
Yeah.
But they also wanted somebody more connected with, speaking directly about, he didn't say the CIC, he may not even know about the CLC. He said, Iolero.
And I did go on Elaine's
Yeah,
program
no,
last Monday.
Yeah. But then I think what needs to happen is most of their listeners are English speakers.
Right.
So I would want them to help connect you to someone who has a Spanish language show, because I've been guests on the Spanish language one where they translate what I'm saying. You know, it's slow, you don't get as much information out. But they have done that, and I have been a guest, so. I would, KBBN is, pretty active. And has always carried stuff about law enforcement, right? At least since Andy was killed and maybe before.
I did go and speak right before the memorial for Andy Lopez. For
Oh, okay.
KBBF
Okay,
in Spanish.
in Spanish, right?
With Rebel?
No, that would be
Um,
the rebel.
No, her name is Ana Saldana.
Salgado.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great.
I mean, when I went to the Andy Lopez Memorial, there were just hundreds of people there, and I thought, maybe some of those people will show up tonight, you know,
Yeah.
and I hoped that, yeah, you know, and then I'm feeling like, so how do we have that happen the next time? I mean, what are the channels of communication that we're missing? And I hear what you're saying, but again, a lot of that is gonna go out to white people, and I'm just wondering, anybody who has any clues for us, I would be, you know, very appreciative of, you know, connecting with, you know, the
What is the connection with Los
Chavez family, the, you know, whatever, what?
Does anybody have a connection with Los Cian, the Cian? Yeah, I mean, they would have a huge list.
Yeah.
They had a huge list, but they were really silent.
Yeah, they were.
Very silent on this, they
Yeah,
don't
they
tend to want to do anything that, might have upset law enforcement.
Has anybody talked to them that you know of? About, I mean,
I'm not answering that.
oh, okay. So I can go on.
Love and Light gets the young folks, you know, to be. Right, Chantilly, somebody. knows.
I did send her the notice of tonight.
Yeah, I did too, yeah.
But I wonder if you could ask her to promote it to her lists.
Yeah.
Again. No young folks. Yeah,
Well, I think it's clear that this committee can encourage more of that community. Is there more? This is
So,
other people.
We just have a comment from, I think it's Ellen.
Oh, yes.
No question, but I think the lack of attention is because local activists are consumed with the crisis in Gaza. Thank you for keeping on though with this important issue.
That's great.
I do hope that we can move beyond the sort of progressive end of the the white progressive
Yeah.
into other communities here. And you know, I think it may have been you, Jim, that had the idea that we should be meeting with these liaisons in the schools. Is that you?
But
Somebody?
yeah.
And I think that that's a great idea, and we ought to pursue that.
Yeah, Jerry had been. And I. Hey, Carl, you know, that you might have had a couple of minutes with that.
But I think that we might think about that after the holiday and see if we can also get some other CAC members out in the community, you know. One of the things that occurs to me is to ask CAC members to make a commitment to do, you know, 2 public events, you know, 2 community engagement matters, even a year, you know, or 3, so that we could call on people to say, you know, here's one that we think you can do, and that they've already made the generic time commitment, and so then we're just asking them to make a specific time commitment, except for perhaps the chair, who spends a lot of time working on this organization.
I spent a lot of time at work mostly.
Yes, Elchina and.
Oh, no, I
Oh,
was just
okay.
adjusting my.
Tom,
Well, my time's up in a couple of months and I'm still confused. And we go out and do a lot of outreach, but most of it is pushing ILR. And I think what we need to do is get a lot more focused. When we go out, let's go out with the idea we're gonna talk about. With Chavez, we're gonna talk about what did the Santa Rosa Police Department do to investigate? Did they follow law? Did they put everything? So everything, I think the more we can get a strong message, is putting, we're here. The more you're gonna get people on the CAC to get out there. And the more we're gonna, you know, we do a lot. We actually get out there on MLK Day. We see all sorts of people putting radio stations like, hey, you've got a free, come on my radio station. But I don't think we've got a real strong message as the CAC to put out there. Like that's one of our first things.
I agree. Also, Susan, you said about the, I can't remember who you were talking about, but you said, I don't even know if he knows about, I think it was the Peace and Justice, I don't know who it was.
Oh, brother. Yeah.
But you said, I don't even know if he knows about the CAC.
Yeah,
And I think, I mean, absolutely, we want people to know about ILRO, but we really want people to know about the CAC. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what I've been saying forever is, okay, you get the message out there that IRS exists, you can make your complaints. The point is to get people to know that they can be involved and give their opinions about law enforcement. Right. That's, yeah, however you feel.
That's the way we should be looking.
Yeah,
We should be able to say the sheriff is doing, here are some of the stuff they're doing to address this. What else would you like to have done?
right.
That gets back into training and everything else. Working on strong language. Although it's a tough time about policy, so
Yeah.
the laws are changing, keeping up with them.
And that point should be made is that the laws have been changed because the public has become aware and people are working in Sacramento on those things.
I think maybe going to events and thinking of it as like a job fair where you're recruiting people and then maybe you wanna tell them about the CAC rather than just, hey, did you know about ILRO? Yeah.
They agree.
Yeah.
I do that in case sometimes.
Okay. Well, I'm just, sorry, I'm just making a few notes about things that, I mean, this has been a good conversation. I appreciate this and,
Are contacts normally made with the friends, the Spanish language? The position of the, the PD owns that.
I know we had an article with, or not, an ad with the Gazette, but the Press Democrat, I have to maybe get a hold of somebody and see if we can do that.
Yeah, I mean, because I don't read it because it's in Spanish, I can't read
Yeah.
it, but it's, it's specifically
Mhm.
run by Press Democrat, it's in.
hi.
That's different than what was.
Involved.
Yeah, it's like, this is a.
Ricardo
Press
was
Dem-
part of like.
I don't know.
Hello,
Come on,
how
come
are
on.
you?
Good, how you doing?
Just fine.
I have to ask him, I'm not sure.
So
Do
we,
you, wait, do you know that, did you say that there's a new editor at, yeah, do you know that person?
No. It was just
It's
just
just in the front page of the paper.
a couple like, you didn't get one on Monday or something, and so.
yeah, and he said one of his goals was to have the haves care more about the have-nots.
Right.
That was,
Yeah.
I think that was the line he used.
Yes, yeah,
I just wonder if it makes sense to make an appointment and go in and talk to him about what he does.
I think would be. Yes.
I mean, if he doesn't know about it, he's not gonna do that much about it, but if he knows more about it, he'll pick up on, comments that are made, or, he might, reach out to us.
We have,
Okay, oh,
Go ahead, Josette.
Yeah, in listening to this, I did think it was great that you talked about putting something in the Press Democrat, but I also think you should reach out to the community Facebook pages for the various neighborhoods. Like, for example, here in the Springs, there is a Springs community Facebook page. When I didn't find out about this meeting, except that there was an email that popped in the other day. And people, this has gone off people's radar. ILARO, Measure P, this case in particular, things have gone off people's radar and they've forgotten about it. And the other thing is when you do reach out through the press, unfortunately, if you're not a paid subscriber, you can't post the link there for people to see anything that you write. So you need to be aware of that. If let's say you put out something on the Index Tribune or the Press Democrat, if I post a link to it for people to look at, if they're not a paid subscriber, they won't be able to see it. There'll be a paywall. So I would urge you to look at the community pages that are out there and even reaching out to the various MACs. So those are the only things I have to say. You get more people and to be aware and to participate.
That's why I always copy and paste whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm going to that. Sorry.
Have the link, but then I copy and paste it.
I'm sorry.
I will share the link, but I also copy and paste the whole thing,
Right.
which is time consuming, but it's worth doing.
So I just want to welcome our newest person here, and just let you know that we have done the community listening session, and we're now talking about community engagement strategies that those, particularly the community engagement committee at the CAC, can undertake. And we've just been sort of having a free-flowing brainstorming session here. So that's it.
Really quick, my name is Lupe Catalan and I work for District 5. I was working with Supervisor Hopkins for 5 months now. So one of our goals is to be able to do also community engagement outreach to our Latino community members. So
thank you for
I
coming.
wanted to come in, and I'm sorry, I apologize that I was late. Things happen at the last minute, so I have to go get my little one. So I'm sorry, but I'm here and I'm hoping that I can be part of that meetings more often.
Well, we're glad you came here and you came in. And now we still learn about community engagement.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Lupe actually reached out to both Lizette and me to introduce herself, and one of the things that she and I talked about was finding ways to even to allow monolingual Spanish speakers to serve on the CAC, because we really are missing a bunch of people in this community by only being able to have people who are English speakers. And so we have talked about that. And John and Lizette and I have also sort of kicked that around, but not very far.
We have an opening in area of District 5.
We do.
Yes, and we did get a couple of applications already. Not bilingual, but we have a few, and I believe that one person works for West County Health Centers, and I think Alan, you probably met Alan already too.
Yes.
I understand that he's been part of the meetings. They're gonna have an interview hopefully this week. Yes, yeah, big fun too. We have the opening, like Nancy was saying, that we can have, bilingual staff. I know we were able to get for the mental health board, we're able to get a bilingual person for District 5. It's a slow process, but I think it has to do with a lot with the community engagement, the community outreach that we're able to do. So I'm working on that as well for IOLERO and different departments within the county, because I think it's important that we have that equity process with a lot of things with the county. So
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, I think we have talked about a number of possible activities, and some of the activities are actually, I think Joe's idea about using the neighborhood or community, local Facebook pages is really a good one. I think some of the more traditional media stuff may have to be coordinated through the county's PR office. I don't
Or
know
someone
that.
with a budget, John.
Well, I don't know whether to what extent we are permitted to do that, they without going through their PR office.
As a quick aside, I was on a grand jury committee, and it's hard, especially after getting people to sign up for a one-year something. We went out, got the board of supervisors to issue, this is grand jury appreciation. Worked with the county, we got that out to over 40,000 people, and the grand jury went from having trouble getting 18 to 70 a year. So I mean, there are ways to get the county involved if we can create that, and they send a lot of stuff.
It's good to know. I would love to have the Community Advisory Council Appreciation Week.
Right?
Yeah.
We can get that done, seriously, if we can get people involved and understand what we do. We can do
I
that.
think they better know who we are before they learn, before we ask them to appreciate us.
You just made some.
I was trying to look at when Lizette sent us the meeting information. Because I'm just wondering why, not to put, I don't know if it's you or Ricardo, but why the information was barely published on Facebook yesterday. And I feel like once something gets sent to ISD or something and we know what we're gonna talk about at a meeting, like for example, for our regular meetings, we could mention the business items and say the CAC is going to review this policy or have a presentation from this group on this day. The meeting information will be posted here and then just use the link that goes to like the home page for the CAC where like all the meetings are listed. But we'll already, by that time, we already decided and had meetings on the agenda. We already went over the agenda and you already sent it to ISD and people could have the information ahead of time. And do little pictures and stuff like Susan, everyone were saying, and share it that way so that we're ahead of it and not like a day before.
I know the newsletter went out last week. I don't know why he didn't post it on social media same day as the newsletter, which was last week.
Yeah.
So that's a
And
conversation. we'll
yeah,
have to
at my
have.
job, I do like everything right away. Next door first, then Facebook, and then I have our newsletter set up to automatically post on Facebook when it publishes through.
How do you-
We use MailChimp though. And I think you guys use Constant Contact, but maybe check to see if there is a way to do that. But yeah, and then
'Cause
I
if
don't
I-
have to do anything.
Cause if
for
I
our
can do
newsletter.
it, I don't have to wait for him and I can just post it once he does
Yeah,
the
that would
newsletter.
probably help. Cause I know you like email us a lot and I know you have a lot going on and I don't know what Ricardo's focus is. And sorry if he's listening and he's gonna hear this, but it is concerning that we barely had the information out one day ago. When we went over the agenda like 2 weeks ago, 3,
3 weeks ago.
and then it got sent to the county 2 weeks ago.
Okay, does anyone else have anything more they would like to talk about this evening?
I have one comment, which is that I have the privilege of being able to leave work a little bit early, so I can try to make it here by 5. I would just want to suggest that if you have a public comment, that it not be right at 5, because a lot of us work and it's easier to do that on the end of the meeting rather than the beginning of the meeting. So it's like I was late and my comment was really badly formed, but that's my suggestion.
Thank you. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah, and I'm chatting with people who zoomed in late and they're like, it's over.
Okay,
They
So
were
next time maybe we'll.
we'll reverse it, yeah.
reorganize, Yeah.
Well, I have to take some credit for making it at 5. Susan was gonna set it at 6, and I said,
So,
there's gonna be so many people there, we're gonna need to start it early. So that's when it was changed to 5. I think Susan's idea was a better one, starting at 6.
Nancy.
Nancy, I'm sorry.
That's so funny because when my father wanted to live in Nancy, and people over the years called me.
That's good.
Funny.
Oh, that must be why I'm on.
And my college roommate was Nancy.
Sorry, anyway.
So we need to schedule the next meeting. This has to be a publicly noticed meeting. We generally, what I have tried to do, because it's a Brown Act meeting, is to do it in connection with our regular meeting, so that all of the folderol that goes along with having a public meeting can be done at once. However, if 5 o'clock is a hard time, I don't know, what do people think? Should we be holding it separately, or should we still continue to try to do it at, like, the first one we did was at 5:15 to 6. This one we did 5, and we scheduled it to go to 7, because we thought it was gonna be, there would be more comments, but the CAC meeting starts at 6, so we need to do it either and ends at 8, and I think 8 o'clock is too late for us to then have the meeting.
And would it be conceivable that the CAC meeting could start a little later? Or is after 8, do people just like start tuning out? And so could it go from 6:30 to 8:30, or is 8:30 like, you don't trespass on that time for people? Do you have a sense of that?
Well, from when I'm just sitting here and just observing the room, it seems like people are like antsy to leave, and in my mind, I mean, I see this kind of as a job that I work around my real job, and I wouldn't mind starting at 6:30, but I don't know what other people want. I mean, because sometimes we'll have people ask, do these meetings really go past like an hour and a half? And yeah, because sometimes we're talking about things that are really important, and so if that pushes people away, and then now we're starting later, I don't know how that's gonna impact everyone, but I personally don't, I prefer it because I work all the way in Marin past San Rafael, and sometimes it's hard to like get here at 6, yeah, so today I had to leave early.
Do you see this particular committee as, having this, public comment like tonight, happening regularly? Because I don't see that happening. It's more a business meeting and not likely, most of the comment is the CAT meeting itself.
Right, I
So I
think
don't
that's
know.
right, and we can report out during the CAC meeting what we've talked about, so that if people don't want to attend.
Yeah.
I had said we shouldn't call ourselves the outreach committee, because I didn't think that it actually reflected what we're doing, but the community engagement committee is really a mouthful. So I want to come up with a better name, so because we could call it the CEC instead of the CAC. But anyway, we could, the point is that we can report out what we've done, and public comment can be made during that reporting period.
Correct. Does it make sense that we broach, I mean, I understand people may or may not come to the engagement, meeting. But if we make it impossible for them to come, then they're not gonna come, so would it be possible to broach the subject at our next CAC meeting of, would people be open to having it from 6:30 to 8:30? Which would mean that we could do 5:30 to 6:30. For that,
And I don't want us to have a CAC meeting every single month. I don't think it's a community engagement meeting every single month. I see us doing this either every other month or even quarterly. But Lorena and I and John will talk about the possibility of putting that on our agenda for the January meeting.
just exploratory.
And I will say that, we didn't have any business items to bring forth at our regular meeting. So initially, we were like, okay, we're canceling the December regular meeting and the community engagement meeting. And we had already told Lizette that, and we were gonna work on our January agenda. And then this came up with the announcement from the DA and all of that, so we thought, since we had already kind of told others that we were canceling, we'll strategize and do it, have this discussion at the community engagement meeting. But otherwise, if we were having a regular meeting, this would have been on the agenda. So,
It would have been a
Even
6
though-
o'clock meeting, right, we wouldn't
Yeah.
have been a 5 o'clock meeting. It would have been a
Correct.
6 o'clock.
but it just, we had already told everyone else that we were canceling, so. But yeah, in the future, these types of discussions won't just be with the community engagement group, it'll be with the entire CAC. The system, we don't wanna violate Brown Act, it's just the committee.
We're not allowed to do that. So, I guess the question is when do you want to schedule the next meeting? It's, February sound good? Okay. So we'll do the February before the CAC meeting. We won't set a time right now. And we can raise it in January.
Just as a discussion, is there any other night that would work for people that would be better? 6 o'clock on a Tuesday night, 6 o'clock on a Thursday?
We
Or do you want to
have
tie it in?
discussed that already.
That's CAC.
Oh, see, oh.
I'm not,
Oh, sorry.
I'm talking about having this be separate.
Oh,
And I don't know what people think about have this totally separate from CAC on a different night.
You know, I would like to try to keep it on the same night if we can because of the Brown Act issues and having to make this. This way, we can make it available via Zoom, we can do a whole hybrid meeting because, that will be happening with the CAC meeting anyway. I would not, if we did it on another night, I would recommend only an in-person meeting so that we don't have to go through all of that, and it gets more complicated. So I'd like to continue to try to do it on the evenings of the CAC meeting, and if that doesn't work over time, we can revisit that. There's no reason not to revisit it.
I like it. That's very good.
So I think that I would entertain a motion to adjourn. And everyone can go home early.
Can we talk about item 4, the standing committee? I'm still lost as to why we can't discuss among ourselves what we'd like to do with this for this CEC. Why is it we should really try to push and have a meeting to talk about that? But I don't understand.
Well, I think we have to, I think this is a conversation that we should have with our council, separate and apart from the public. The issue is we have to be a standing committee because we're not dealing with an ad hoc issue,
I
right?
understand. Oh, no, I understand that, but I'm not sure what it means. If we do a standing committee with that, what?
Standing committee, yes, standing committees have to comply with the Brown Act. Ad hoc committees do not.
This is an ad hoc.
This is a standing.
So I think,
Because it doesn't go away.
It's ongoing. It doesn't.
I think maybe the question is whether the quorum conversations and all of that actually applies to a standing committee. Because I remember earlier, and I was confused, I just didn't want to sound like an idiot. But when you said that Tom was kind of like left out because you're not, and I didn't realize you were talking about the committee. So you don't want to have a conversation with the 2 members in your group, because then that would be, but even having a conversation with just Robin would be a majority. But I feel like maybe those rules don't apply, it only applies because you don't have a temporary.
And that's why I said, I think we need to have a little conversation with the county council about the scope of that, okay?
Yeah,
But we need to do that,
Yeah, because I think this
because
is
it's
very
legal
valuable.
advice, we need to do that in private.
yeah. But yeah, I get it, I get the confusion. I was confused too.
But we are a standing committee and we do comply with the Brown Act in a way that ad hoc committees, which are dealing with single issues,
Right, right.
short term, don't have to deal.
You got the intent, but just didn't get how we're gonna pull it off, you know.
I'm not sure either. as you know, I'm working my way through this as well. And I'm happy to seek more advice. Now can I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you.
Second.
All in favor, the three of us. I'm in favor. Everybody's in favor. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Really appreciate it.
Wouldn't have been much of a meeting. Thank you.